Hey, FeralInferno here. We're talking about our 2018 Game of the Year, and today it's going to be a little bit different because we have a lot of games to talk about. This is more games than any year that we've talked about so far, and it might be the most that we have for any year. So what I've done is I've broken it down by some of the different categories, whether it's fighting game, RPG, action. So we'll talk about them and have a little bit of continuity throughout the video. And at the end, we'll announce what the game of the year will be. And it'll be a most definitive choice for sure. So first, let's start with the fighting game category. We're going to start with BlazBlue Crosstag Battle. BlazBlue Crosstag Battle was a game I was really looking forward to in 2018. And one of the great things about this game is it's called BlazBlue, but at the same time, it's got that cross tag battle in there. So it's got that tag system, kind of like your Marvel versus Capcom, or Capcom versus SNK, or SNK versus Capcom. Those two different versions. But it's got that same type of tag battle, but that cross in there, the cross thing, it's the crossover part. And you'll see on the cover here, you got several franchises, and they've added actually more since. I believe they've got like 7 or 8 different franchises now since they've had DLC. But the 4 main franchises that they had for BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle was obviously BlazBlue had the largest amount of characters and representation in the game. But we also had Persona in there. For those who are not aware, Persona is actually an RPG series, mostly appearing on the PlayStation series systems over the years. But they also did a game called Persona Arena, and some of those characters make an appearance in this game. We also have Under Night In-Birth characters, a game that I was actually not really familiar with until this game. And I actually, because of this game, picked up another fighting game a year later with Under Night In-Birth Late EXE. It's this huge, long, weird title, but it's a cool game. Really cool characters. This ended up being my second favorite franchise represented in BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. My favorite franchise was probably RWBY, and RWBY is an American anime from a studio called Rooster Teeth. It's an okay anime. The first 3 seasons were pretty good. When the creator Monty Omam, I believe his name was still alive. He unexpectedly passed away at, I think, age 30, 33. And he unfortunately was not able to carry on and doing more further seasons, but the team carried on without him. And in my opinion, the quality really slipped, and it felt very different after Monty was no longer part of the project. But the characters are still really cool. So you got your RWBY characters. RWBY's actually spelled RWBY, and those are the initials of the 4 characters that make up Team RWBY that are in the anime. But they are also in the game, and those characters are a lot of fun. And of all the characters, I think they look the best because they recycled a lot of animations, just like Marvel vs. Capcom did over the years with some of the characters. And some of them look a little more pixelated than others, but the RWBY characters were designed from the ground up. So they definitely have the best amount of frames of animation, the most smoothest animation, and they're just a lot of fun to play as. All 4 of them are very unique characters. I actually really like playing as RWBY. She was probably my favorite character in the game to play as. Really cool play style, and just having familiarity with her too from the anime series. But really enjoyed her, and there's a lot of good characters and a lot of variety in the gameplay. One of the shortfalls of this game was just that the battles, because it's so combo heavy, there's a lot of auto combos that they introduced, which turned off some of the fans. I didn't mind. I kind of liked it. But there isn't enough options in the game to turn down the damage output. So some of the matches could last like seconds. You get into a certain rhythm of combos, you can't get out of it. What are you going to do? So so one of the little problems with the game, but still a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing this with friends over the past couple years. Sticking with the fighting game arena, we've got Dragon Ball FighterZ. So yeah, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, or Dragon Ball Fighters. I believe the correct term is Dragon Ball Fighters. But very similar to BlazBlue Crosstag Battle in style of gameplay. Um, all your favorite Dragon Ball characters here. The graphics are phenomenal. I know the Switch version got scaled down a little bit from the Steam and the PS4 versions, but the big advantage on the Switch is I can take this on the go. So back when before everything that went down and we all had to kind of lock down, we were able to go out and have fun and do things in public. So bringing a Switch to like different venues and having meetup events was a lot of fun playing this game with people. Same with BlazBlue. But yeah, this is a little bit different in terms of the tag portion of the battle of Dragon Ball Fighters. There's 3 characters on your team instead of 2. BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle had 2. DBZ here had 3 characters, which you could in the versus mode change. You could change it to 1 or 2, which was a kind of a cool option to have there. But yeah, all your favorite characters are represented here. Had a really good DLC as well. Adding a lot of cool characters, including Master Roshi. That was a really cool addition to see at Dragon Ball Fighters. The gameplay in Dragon Ball Fighters is not quite as varied as BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. BB Tag had a lot of variety with different characters and stages and moves and how you execute some of those moves and combos, whereas Dragon Ball Fighters is not quite as deep of an experience. You can play with almost any character. There's a few characters that are kind of unique. Piccolo's pretty unique. Piccolo is one of the more unique characters, and but you know, if you know how to play one character, you can pretty much play most of them. So the gameplay got a little stale. That's the only problem with Dragon Ball Fighters, in my opinion. But still a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun playing this with friends, and also a little bit combo heavy as well. But a little bit harder to do the combos in Dragon Ball Fighters. So, whereas BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle had a lot of, like I was saying earlier before, a lot of like really good auto combos. There's some auto combos in here, but not as many as BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. Next up in the fighting game genre. This game needs no introduction. Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. A lot of years playing Smash Brothers over since the N64 days. You know, I was right there at the very beginning on launch day when the original Smash Brothers came out. Me and my brother played that very first day. I remember riding my bike to Toys R Us after school, picking it up, and learning this new fighting game style of the game. It was bizarre, like, oh, you don't have a life bar, you have percentages, and you have to knock people out of the arena. So that took a little getting used to, but what a ways Smash Brothers has come. Over 80 characters are in this game, so much variety. It's more balanced than you'd think with all those characters. This is the ultimate Smash Brothers game. There's one thing I didn't like about this game over the previous iteration. Usually I like every version more and more and more, which I do. But one thing really missing from this, I know this is very divisive within the Smash community, was the custom moves. Smash 4, as a lot of people call it, or Smash for Wii U and Smash for 3DS, had custom moves that you could assign to all of your characters. And the only annoying thing about them to me was having to unlock them all. That was very time consuming. I was like, just unlock them in the beginning. Not everything has to be freaking unlockable, guys. That's where I spent the bulk of my time in Wii U and 3DS versions, was unlocking all those moves. But they were cool. They were worth it. Especially I remember Mega Man just having really, really cool moves in the Wii U version. But we're talking about Smash Brothers Ultimate. Had to gush just a little bit about the Wii U version there, but this is definitely still an improvement. The tagline, everyone is here, and it really is. Everyone is there. Almost all the stages are back. A few notable exceptions, Poke Floats didn't make a comeback, which I know was a fan favorite that a lot of people were hoping that was going to come back. I imagine that would have taken a lot of resources to redo that stage. And then they have 8 players playable on that stage. Probably would have been problematic because that was coming from the 4-player Melee Smash Brothers game. But yeah, this Smash Brothers, a lot of fun with this. I mean, this is my most played game on the Switch by far. Not solo hours necessarily, but with versus hours. And I guess technically not all those hours are mine because sometimes I let my friends just play and while I'm hanging out over here at the table. Uh, but yeah, Smash Brothers, over 500, I think 50 hours on my Switch right now. Definitely great value. DLC is fantastic. Added probably my favorite characters in the game with Pyra and Mithra. As you may have seen from previous videos, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a pretty big game for me, and I really loved those characters. So when those two characters got announced for DLC, I was pretty happy, and I immediately named them, and I think I'm pretty good as them. But yeah, love Smash Brothers Ultimate. I hope they come out with a second edition of this, even though I already own all the DLC in this, but I'd like to have everything on one cartridge. So I hope that at some point they do a follow-up to this, or maybe even on the next system, instead of doing a new one right away, maybe they just port Smash Brothers Ultimate. We'll see, who knows. With that, fighting games are out of the way, and we're going to move back into RPGs, which we've been talking about a lot in the last few games of the year. We're going to start with a title you might not be expecting to see here, and that is Lost Sphear. This was a really great follow-up to I Am Setsuna. It's by the same team that did that game, for those who are familiar with I Am Setsuna, and they did just a wonderful job with this game. The character development was very good. The battle system was a lot of fun. Reminds me a lot of your classic SNES RPGs. You can tell that they were really influenced by games like Final Fantasy VI or 3 for us when it came out on the Super Nintendo, or Chrono Trigger as well. With the Chrono Trigger more maybe so with the battle system, but a lot of great elements in this game. If you're a fan of classic JRPGs, this is a love letter to those games. Pretty hard to find physical right now. The only way, at least here in the States, to get Lost Sphear physical was ordering right from Square Enix. Old habits die hard. But you had to order this right from Square Enix's website, so you had to not only pay $60 for this game for physical, you had to pay like $10 for shipping. But it was worth it. It was worth it to have it physical. The box is just very unique with the big moon there, and the cliff and the artwork. And when you play the game, you'll be able to really tell what a lot of this is. And just to give you a little bit of glimpse, because it doesn't really tell you a lot about the game on the cover without knowing anything about it. It gives you a little glimpse of some of the characters in the game. So really nice characters in the game. I'm really looking forward to replaying this at some point. It's been a few years since I played it, and once my backlog gets cleared up a little bit, we'll definitely be going through Lost Sphear again. Plan about 65 hours roughly to complete this game fully. And if you do everything in the game, you might be a little bit more. I think I did most everything in the game. But yeah, really enjoyed this game. Still, you can get it on the eShop. If you really want it physical, you could probably hit up eBay or something. But I don't think you can find it new physical anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, Lost Sphear. Looking for that classic JRPG fix back from the SNES days. This is the way to go. Sticking with the JRPGs, we're moving on to Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology. Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology is a remake of an earlier DS game. This came out for the 3DS with improved graphics, the visuals. There's added elements to the story. It's a little bit longer as a result, too, as it tacks on some other stuff at the end. And there is so much to do in this game. I don't remember what my exact hour count was, but I believe it was over 100 hours putting it into Radiant Historia. How I can describe Radiant Historia best would be a lot like, talking about Chrono Trigger again, but this would feel like the true follow-up to Chrono Trigger, even though it was done by Atlas and not Square. It has a very unique time travel element to it. I don't want to give away too much, but it's like it's a very unique RPG, even though it's a lot like Chrono Trigger in that way. It's got a really cool battle system, and yeah, it's kind of like a strategy. The battle, it's turn-based, but it adds in strategy elements and combo elements from fighting games. So it's kind of a mishmash of genres almost in a way, but it's definitely JRPG. But it's kind of cool to have some combo systems in there, and yeah, I call it. And when I first played this for the DS, it was a reissue. I didn't get it on the first wave, and I saw an article online. It was like talking about it was a really good game. If you missed it the first time, try it out. And I was like, you know what? I got that. I need that fix for a JRPG. It's like, hey, it's like what, $30 or whatever in the DS. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll give it a shot. A lot of people are saying good things about it. Let me try it out. And I didn't even hear about it when it came out on the DS. And I wasn't a big fan of Atlas RPGs. But I'm really glad I gave it a shot. I really fell in love with it, and really glad they did a follow up years later for rating Historia Perfect Chronology. This game you may be expecting to see on the list here is in the JRPG realm is Octopath Traveler, and oh boy, this game did not disappoint. Again, time traveling back here, going back to the 16-bit days, but the visuals remind me a lot of Final Fantasy VI. Even one of the characters looks. The blonde character Ophelia looks a lot like a character in Final Fantasy VI, Celis. At least their sprite looks very similar, which is why I picked that character first in the game. It's called Octopath Traveler. There's 8 characters that you get to choose from. So eight really unique, cool characters. They all have their own separate storylines, and that's where a lot of people don't like this game, is because it's not one big cohesive story. Where they all, people come together and you form this team. I mean, they do come together, but not in the sense that people maybe were expecting. They're 8 individual stories that you get to explore, and I didn't think I'd like that. And then initially, when it was first announced, and I kind of was hearing about what this game was all about, I was like, I don't want that either. I wasn't about that. And then I saw more and heard more about it, and it's like, you know what? I'm getting more and more into this. And I got to give it a shot. And I was really worried I was going to be disappointed with this game. I'm not going to lie. I was going into this thinking, like, worst case scenario, I'm not going to like this game. But going in with that, I think was important. Instead of going in like, oh, I can't wait for this game. But yeah, this was excellent. And I highly recommend it. Many hours, over 100 hours of gameplay, lots to do. There is bonus stuff at the end of the game, and it's insanely difficult. I didn't finish it. I guess that's how you get the true ending. You don't have to. It's a side quest for something to do at the end, essentially. So if you've heard about that at the end, no spoilers, of course. You know me by now. I'm not about spoilers, but you don't have to do that stuff at the end. Give it a try. It'll frustrate you. The boss battle at the end, for the optional boss battle at the end, very optional, guys, is I think I was in it like 45 minutes, and then when I lost, I was like, I'm done. I'm good. I got my enjoyment out of this game. This is a side quest thing anyways. I don't need to know. I don't care. I had my fun with it. But also, if you love challenges, probably one of the toughest bosses I faced in a game. And I was very well prepared even for this boss. Not even knowing what was going in it, but I think I had everybody maxed out, I believe, in terms of stats and everything. So, it's a tough game at parts. It can be challenging, but it's worth it. It's worth the ride, and the challenge is fun. It's a good challenge. This is one of the best battle systems in a strictly turn-based RPG that I played. I really enjoyed the battles in this game. The characters have a lot of unique, different skills and abilities. You get a little bit of customizable options for your characters as well. But really enjoyed it. The shortcoming is, I guess you could say, is that it's not one big cohesive story. But you get 8 smaller stories, which essentially could be eight games all on their own. And next time I play it, I'm going to try playing it without getting the other characters. I'm going to try to just get one character and go through all of their chapters alone and see if that's even possible. I don't know if it is, and I don't know how difficult that would be without having dedicated healers and things like that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm really looking forward to my second playthrough at some point being a little bit different, and we'll see how far I get. Maybe I'll do an update on that at some point if we're interested in doing that on the channel. All right, so with RPGs now out of the way, we're gonna get into more of the action games. The first game we're going to talk about in this genre is Mega Man 11. And oh boy, Mega Man 11. This is a long time coming. Really glad to see Mega Man make a comeback here. When this game got announced, I was thrilled. When I first heard Mega Man 11, I was a little apprehensive. Because, Capcom is not the same Capcom I remember. Back in the 16-bit, 8-bit, 30, even 32-bit days. Capcom, shortly after the 2000s, started really changing. And they got away from some of their classic franchises like Breath of Fire and Mega Man. And the games that they were doing for those franchises ended up just being awful, just piles of garbage. Breath of Fire 5 and 6, for example, were not great. Some of the later Mega Man X games were not good. There was a Mega Man 9 and 10 that came out for the, I think it started out on the Wii Virtual Console or the WiiWare, Wii Channel, whatever you want to call it, download service. And it came out for other systems too. And they were in the 8-bit classic style, and I think they even took the sliding out. This was more like Mega Man 2. Those were okay. Those were okay games. But they tried it visually to bring back the charm, but the charm just wasn't there for those games for me anyways. But Mega Man 11 did a great job with bringing the game into this current generation of graphics and still keeping the gameplay reminiscent of Mega Man. They added a few other mechanics to it. There's some time and power mechanics that they added. It's called the gear system, where you can kind of slow down time, or you can power up Mega Man for a limited amount of time. You'd think that would make the game a little too easy, and in a way it kind of does. You could always not use it. And I think there's the ability to actually turn the gear system off. But I think they made it challenging enough where using that system still presents a challenge. It didn't take me too long to beat it though. I have played through all the Mega Man games, and leading up to this game was a lot of fun. I probably had more fun leading up to Mega Man 11 than actually playing Mega Man 11, even though it was a wonderful, great experience. Not taking anything away from Mega Man 11, but my goal was to play Mega Man 1 through 10. I didn't play them in the exact order. I kind of just played them in whatever order I wanted to. But I played them and I finished, I think I played 10 last. And it was the only game I hadn't... no, I didn't beat 9 at that point. I got pretty close to beating 9. I kind of just stopped because it didn't grab me. But 10 it really didn't grab me. But I still got through it the morning before I picked up Mega Man 11. But yeah, Mega Man 11 was a lot of fun. One gripe about this game is the voice acting. The voice acting is annoying. It's terrible. I don't know what they were thinking putting voice acting in this. I know everyone loves voice acting. These kind of games don't need it. It's a side scroller, and I don't need story elements. You need very minimal story elements with a Mega Man game. But if you turn off the voice acting, which is the very first thing I recommend you do, turn on Mega Man 11, it'll say Mega Man 11. You go to the main menu, go down the options, turn off the voice acting. Pro tip, you heard it here first. Turn off voice acting Mega Man 11. It'll be a much better game, much better experience as a result. But yeah, you get your 8 bosses, you got your Wily Castle. The only thing missing from this was it was a little bit shorter of a Mega Man game in terms of after your bosses, your main bosses. One of the tropes in the Mega Man games that was happening for a long time was, hey, you got your fake boss castle, and then you got the Wily castle. Like, oh, hey, it was really Dr. Wily all this time. Big surprise. The next game we have is... I don't have it physically. At the time when I bought this game, it was not available physically. I waited a while, and then I was like, they're probably not going to do it. There was a big sale. I got it for $9, which at this point was a steal. I thought it was like, oh, well, hey, if it's not a good game, it's $9 at the end of the day. And I believe it came with all the DLC as well. It's like, hey, $9, okay. This game I was expecting to get maybe 10, 15 hours max out of it. And this game was Hollow Knight. I had not played this game before on any of the other platforms that had come out. I remember it got announced on the it was an Indie World or Indie Direct, whatever you want to call it, from Nintendo. And I was like, oh, I'd heard of the name Hollow Knight, but I'd never really looked into it. I remember seeing some screenshots and not being too overly impressed, but watching it in motion, I was like, oh, well, this actually looks pretty good. So I started getting into it. I started watching some videos, and once I realized I wanted to play it, I was like, all right, I'll wait a little while till it comes out physical. So what happened was I bought it, and shortly after I bought it digitally, there was an announcement from, I believe it was Fangamer, that they were doing a physical version, and I think there was a Best Buy version that they were going to have too, and I was like, really? Come on, this has happened to me a few times with digital games. This is a whole nother story for another day, but that's something that really irks me, because I really would have loved to have this game physically because of how special it is. But for those not familiar with Hollow Knight, it's a lot like a Metroid game or Castlevania Symphony of the Night style of game. Closer to Castlevania Symphony of the Night than Metroid. But you can get different abilities in it. You're going through a maze. You got lots of backtracking. Difference here, though, between Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night type of games is Hollow Knight is a lot harder. The patterns, there are patterns to the bosses that you can learn, but they require a lot of pinpoint precision accuracy. And I would say that's maybe one thing that Metroid Dread maybe borrowed a little bit from Hollow Knight, was some of those tougher patterns from the bosses, and some, and having some smaller bosses that you have to kind of maneuver around as well. But yeah, Hollow Knight was a lot of fun. I didn't do everything in the game. Usually I love doing everything, but I kind of had my fill with it. There's a few bonus DLC things I didn't find or get to. One of the problems with Hollow Knight, I would say, is a little bit with its difficulty. I like tough games. I grew up in the NES era of games, games being tough, because that's how you get your replay value out of a short, $40, $50 game. But Hollow Knight takes it a little too far in some cases, and I'm sure that some people enjoy that. But me personally, it's like, I don't want to waste my time dying over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then when I beat no spoilers, but I beat the last boss, and I could tell I got a bad ending. I was like, oh, this isn't the true ending. And I was like, I wonder how you get the true ending. It's like, because I'd done so much already. So I looked up to see, how do you get the true ending? And it's a certain way you have to defeat the final boss. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't care enough. I don't care what happens at this point. That's my gripe with the game, is that it can be a little too tough at times. Some of the bosses are a little too ridiculous. Most of them I got through okay with, but there's a few that are a little ridiculous. But there's a lot of cool things in the game too. There's a lot of twists. There's a very disturbing twist in the game. I won't spoil that, but it was something I definitely wasn't expecting to see happen in the game after a lot of hard work. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, those are nominees. Some of the nominees, anyways, for Game of the Year of 2018. So without further ado, let's go ahead and announce the Game of the Year for 2018. 2018 Game of the Year, Madden NFL 19. Yeah, football. Oh, what's not to like about Madden? It's not the same game every year. It's got an updated roster. It's got different options. It's got different playbooks. Like there's an extra few plays here and there. Madden, it's high effort, high velocity, high impact game. You get to play as your favorite team. There's 32 teams. I think 32. I don't know. I don't know how to count. I just like football. I know a touchdown's 6 points plus an extra point is 7. Who doesn't like football? Madden's the best. You don't like Madden? You don't know what you're talking about. Football! The 2018 Game of the Year is Pokemon Quest. Yeah, it's a free-to-play game, but hey, it's free. You don't have to pay anything. Sure, you might hit a wall at some point and you have to pay for microtransactions to play this game that's got these really minimal graphics that they put like zero effort into. But hey, it's free and it's Pokemon. Who doesn't like Pokemon? It's all the classic 151 different Pokemon from Red and Blue. You got to catch them all. Did you catch them all? Game of the Year, Pokemon Quest 2018. Yeah, baby. 2018 Game of the Year, Gale Gun 2. Come on, guys, Gale Gun 2? You haven't played that yet? It's a shooter game, boo, 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 boo. But it's a different type of shooter game. You get to shoot these water guns at girls, at gales even, and you have to do really wonderful things to them. It's a really mature game. It's rated M for mature because I'm a mature kind of guy. I can handle this kind of game. I don't. It's not because of all the fan service, not at all. I don't care about that. It's the gameplay that's important. I'm there for the articles. I mean the gameplay. You'll like it. It's Gale Gun 2. Game of the Year for 2018. All right, the 2018 Game of the Year. Well, it was a really tough decision. A lot of great games that we went through and talked about. But at the end of the day, I got to go with, it might be a little bit of a surprise with all the next gen games on there, but we're going last gen with the 3DS and Rating Historia Perfect Chronology. It is a remake. This does actually disqualify Rating Historia, the original version, because I don't want to have it on 2 different years list. So we're doing it this year, and while it might have qualified for the year that I played it on the DS, we're only gonna qualify it now. So I think that's only fair, and you guys you want to hear me talk about the same game multiple times. So that is a qualifier there, or a disqualifier, I should say. But yeah, this really set itself apart from the first one. It was definitely an improvement. We'll be talking a little bit more about this too with the art book viewing, and some of the differences that go on between the two different versions. But this is a wonderful cast of characters. If you played Chrono Trigger, take my word for this. If you played and loved Chrono Trigger, without a shadow of a doubt, you will enjoy this game. The battle system is a little bit different, but there's still a combo system with your characters in the game, but it's different than Chrono Trigger. It's not just whereas like Lost Sphear we talked about earlier. It is very, very reminiscent of those older games. This takes it to a different level. It's an evolution of Chrono Trigger, and this is what Chrono Cross should have been. Chrono Cross for me was a letdown. I know some people out there like it. Good for you. I'm happy that there are people who enjoy that game, and I can see how people would enjoy Chrono Cross. But for somebody who bought a PlayStation for Chrono Cross, not so much. But Radiant Historia really surprised me with just how much like Chrono Trigger that it was, and it wasn't as well. Because it wasn't a carbon copy of it. It felt like what a true sequel with some creativity, really what it could have been. So I think it's better that I experienced what I call Chrono Trigger 2 in this form, and it came from a different developer. And you can tell that they definitely had to have been influenced by it. But this has its own unique flavor to it at the same time, so that while you're playing it, you're not always trying to compare it and say, is it as good as Chrono Trigger? Is it the same characters? They were able to break away because of that, and they were able to do it with creativity in mind. The characters, again, a great cast of characters, and of course you have your characters that you like, characters you don't like, just like any RPG, or JRPG, any RPG in general. But there's no characters I dislike in this game, like we were talking about before with Dragon Quest XI. Was a very certain specific character I did not like in the game. This game, I love all the characters, the good, the bad, and the in-between characters. There's not a lot of gripes I have about this game. The only gripe I could say about the game is the battle system is different in a good way. It's a lot of fun. It's very unique. But the battles, because of that, when you have so many battles, especially if you're trying to grind, sometimes it can take a little while because there's a lot of setup. Your enemies are on a 9x9 grid, and you can move them. So there's these attacks that move, and different characters have different types of moving options. Some of them will just move them to the left or right or back or forward. Some of them will push a whole row back, or a whole column back, or up or down. And then you can line up your combos that way, and you can just rack up the damage. It's a lot of fun. But again, if you're just trying to get through, you can't just hold the A button. There's no auto battles not going to get you through this game. But it's really cool. They added that little bit of strategy and combo element to it. You can really do a lot of different setups, and the battles, you can really craft them the way you want them to be. So if you fail in this battle system, it's your fault. It's not the game's fault. They didn't cheat. They didn't, it's not unfair. It's that you didn't do what you needed to do to succeed. And that's one of the things I really enjoyed about the game. The only other little downfall of the game was some of the enemy designs, a little too, not enough variety of enemies, I'll say. There's a lot of recycled enemies in the game. It's not a huge deal, but if I had to point out any flaws in the game. But the story is phenomenal. One of the best JRPG stories you're going to experience. Top tier JRPG game. Really flew out under the radar both times it came out, and even during its DS reissue, still flew under the radar. It's Atlas. Atlas doesn't get a whole lot of respect, and sometimes rightfully so, right? They put out some not so great games, but they did a fabulous job. This is their Mona Lisa, their whatever you want to call it. This is their greatest game they've ever made, in my opinion. Radiant Historia, Perfect Chronology. I think you can still find it new. If not, I'm sure you can find it on the DS or 3DS, on eBay somewhere. Either version's fine. You'll get more out of this version. But really highly recommend playing this game if you're into. If you liked Chrono Trigger, you will love this game. You may even like it more than Chrono Trigger. It's that good, and it's that fresh of an experience. Even though I'm saying it's like a follow-up to Chrono Trigger, it's still very unique. So I don't want to give the impression that this is a cookie cutter game. So yeah, I'm proud to say that a 3DS game among all these Switch games. All these Switch games. Look at all these games. And look at all these games. Look at these. You got heavy hitters here that this beat out. And that's why it was such a tough year. But this beat Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology beat Smash Brothers Ultimate. And I'm a huge Smash Brothers fan, right? I know you if you've watched the past few Game of the Years and you think, hey, I really like JRPGs, and I like all genres of game, but even talking about RPGs and JRPGs, Octopath Traveler, one of the biggest classic JRPGs to come out in years, it still beat that. Even though I already played the DS version. I already played this on the DS. Playing the second time through, it was still that great. And I played this first, and then right as I finished this up, I think I finished up the night before Octopath came out, because it's such a long game. I think I spent 6 months going through that game. Octopath, I think I played that the next day, and still really enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but it was just not as good as Radiant Historia. It was really a shame though, because if Radiant Historia didn't come out, then it would have been an even tougher pick this year. Do I go Smash? Do I go Octopath? Then there's also Mega Man that's in there. I really had a lot of fun with BlazBlue. But end of the day, Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology, my 2018 Game of the Year. Give it a shot. If you played it, let me know what you think. If you haven't played it and you're going to give it a shot, hold off on your comment. But what I would like you to do is, once you play it, whether you played through it or played a little bit of it, come back and let me know what you think, whether positive or negative. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. That's the number one thing I want out of this channel, is to see your guys' experiences, comparing to mine, and just like the old days when you'd be in the cafeteria or something in school and talking about all the cool games you've played. And I hope I can introduce you guys to some really cool games, and I'm really hoping that this is one of them. This is kind of like one of our underdog games that are going to appear on this list. So yeah, really enjoyed doing this. Stick around. In a couple days, we're going to have another video with the art book showing for Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology. It's a little bit of a shorter book, so it's not quite a slog like the other ones are. But I had a lot of fun with this, and we'll see you on the next couple videos. And yeah, take care.